And you know who tells stories really well, Jimmy? Our next guest, Samuel, who Jim, set this up for us because talk about a great storyteller, not only in all of his work, but now specifically this today having ties to it from the family aspect. But what's more exciting than the life on the sea and treasure and freedom? But then also there's some misunderstanding in that. So we're going to dive into that today, Jim. Are we not?
One of the great misunderstood characters in history, by the way, and a person who actually can speak to his reality in a way that few people can. And of course, the name of the book we're talking about. And by the way, it is so much fun, guys. This
Yep.
is like summer reading here. This is choose your own adventure summer reading, except the choice is being made by Samuel Marquis. The name of the book is Captain Kidd: A True Story of Treasure and Betrayal. I'm going to unpack Samuel's bio when we get to the other side of the break, but just want to say good morning to you. And how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, thanks for being on the show. Before, like you said, we'll take a break here in a few minutes. But first of all, tell us where we do a thing that we really want people to like the author, not only like the idea of the book, but like the person behind the book. Because, quite frankly, you can tell a good story, but if I don't like you, I don't want to read it. So to that I say, my new friend, where are you sitting this morning? What are you looking at? And what's inspiring you on this beautiful Thursday morning?
Well, I'm in Louisville, Colorado, working on my newest book. But my book that you're talking about is Captain Kidd: A True Story of Treasure and Betrayal, and it's about my ninth great grandfather, Captain William Kidd, who's the most famous pirate of all time, but he was never a pirate. So how does that happen? That's the gist of the story.
Herein lies the question. And we know, let me tell you, first of all, my co-host over here is the most avid reader I've ever met. I've read, I'm not finished with your book. I'm in the midst of it. Has read the whole book. So we actually, we don't just have you come on and be like, tell me about your book, because that's the most annoying thing ever. But before we dive into that, let's start with what you're working on, now. Because you said if you're sitting in Colorado, which is, talk about some of the most beautiful views, I would assume, to be inspired. What's the new? Let's start with the new project. Where are you headed next?
Well, I'm cleaning up. My new book is going to be on the Iroquois. So it's basically New York, the French versus the English, and the Mohawks fighting in the first French and Indian War from 1689 to 1701, that time frame, and during King William's War. So it's the same. Captain Kidd's still a character in it, but a small part of it. But so I'm basically, it's Last the Mohican. So I'm going from pirates to like Indian Wars, awesome Last the Mohicans kind of world. So,
Ooh.
and it's exciting. I mean, the lead pistol shot and musket balls are flying, and the tomahawks are chopping.
Samuel Marquis joins us this morning. Okay, so I want to make just a little bit of a pivot here, Lindsay.
Pivot.
So we pivot, and I have a quote here. On the morning of December 12th, the fog lifted and the masthead lookout cried, "A sail, a sail." Yelling up through his speaking trumpet, Kidd asked how the ship stood in her class. The reply came that she was a well-armed ship of force, bearing at least 30 cannons and following their plotted course. The Adventure Galley's nautical position was now around 33 degrees, 48 minutes south latitude. Feeling the danger in the air, Kidd snatched his spyglass from the becket and studied the vessel closely for himself. Sure enough, the huge new interloper was a huge gunship, but she was a man of war. But was she a man of war, or was she an outlaw pirate? This is the kind of stuff that you have to it's really fun. What the book does is really fun. You're trying to tell absolutely accurate history and telling it in an engaging, kind of fun way. And I think the idea of the pirate who is not a pirate means you should answer, before we hit this break, the question of what does it mean to become a gentleman of fortune?
Yeah. Well, okay. So this is a complicated subject that I'm going to make very quick and easy. The golden age of piracy took place from 1650 to 1730. And during that time period, that's the most famous pirates of all time. alleged pirates of all time as well. So Sir Henry Morgan, who was knighted, a lot of people consider him a pirate. Well, he was knighted in England for his exploits fighting the Spanish. Is he a pirate? Maybe. So that's Sir Henry Morgan. Captain William Kidd, the most famous pirate of all time, co-shared with Blackbeard, with Sir Henry Morgan, number 3 on the list of famous pirates of all time. Captain Kidd, never a pirate. Licensed privateer, commissioned by the King of England as the trusty and well-beloved Captain Kidd, also commissioned by royal governors. He knew 7 of them. He was one of the richest guys in New York City, a gentleman. He was licensed to go fight the French as a commissioned privateer. A lot of people call that licensed pirates, but there's a difference, but there's not a difference in that seafarers in the golden age of piracy went from being pirates, privateers, which was licensed commerce raiders, to merchant seamen, to Royal Navy men, to wreckers, those are guys who dove for shipwrecks, which were all over the place back then. All of them were interchangeable. 1 week you might be a Royal Navy guy. 2 months later, you're a pirate. 3 months from that, you're a licensed privateer, a private commerce raider. So they were interchangeable. Modern day historians have made the mistake of making sharp delineations between pirates and other seamen. Those were gray boundaries back then. Okay, and then the last part of the golden age of piracy was the Blackbeard era. So that's 1715 to 1730. That's where all of our images and Pirates of the Caribbean come from, that era. Calico Jack Rackham, Stede Bonnet, Blackbeard, Black Sam Bellamy, Mary Bonney, and Anne Reed. Those are the most famous pirates, and everybody, when they imagine pirates, they think of those guys.
Do you know that? Can I ask a dumb, Jim? I've got a dumb question.
Lindsay's dumb question of the day, number 1.
You'd be lucky, Samuel, that we're only on number 1. Normally, at this point of the day, we're already up to like 9 or something. I'm a songwriter in Nashville, so of course I know the word piracy. I've thought that all in my work. You just said piracy, and for the first time, it hit me to connect it with what it means. From obviously copywriting, unauthorized copywriting, and distribution of copyrighted material, etc. I don't know why I've never made the correlation between that and piracy as it pertains to the, violence or robbery on the high seas. I don't know why I've never put those together. How, being so versed in it and what it means from Captain Kidd, as well as piracy as it means today, what's the connection to the two of those scenarios?
Pirates, modern day, technological piracy and all, credit card piracy and all that. I don't have time to really think much about that. I deal with piracy of the golden age of piracy, the only piracy that I have to deal with. I'm sure my books are being stolen and sold in China and all over the Asia. That goes without saying. They steal all our technology,
right?
But it doesn't affect me on a daily basis. So I'm interested in the golden age of piracy. It would be my answer to you.
To my dumb question?
That's okay. We got to take a quick break here. We're going to come back on the other side with Samuel Marquis. This book is wonderful, by the way, guys. It is a look back not just on a very famous historical figure, but has a certain connection to the author since he is his great grandfather. We'll take a quick break, come back on the other side. Samuel Marquis.
Was that 9 times?
That's
was that 9 times?
That was
Did
9
you count on your fingers?
I did on my fingers. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Now that we're kind of, settled in here, our good friend Samuel joins us. He's the 9th great-grandson of legendary privateer Captain William Kidd. Samuel Marquis is a professional hydrogeologist, expert witness, and best-selling award-winning author of 12 American nonfiction history, historical fiction, and suspense books that primarily cover the period from colonial America through World War II. His American history and historical fiction books have been #1 at the Denver Post and Amazon bestsellers, and he's received multiple National Book Awards in both fiction and nonfiction categories, including Kickers Reviews and Ford Reviews Book of the Year, American Book Fest, and USA Best Book, Reader's Favorite, Colorado Book Awards. I could go on, but that would be the whole point of the conversation, and not talking about this wonderful book, Captain Kidd, A True Story of Treasure and Betrayal. In researching your ninth great-grandfather, what did you discover that you found unpleasant or you were not happy to discover, and what did you find out that just filled you with delight?
I think, well, I think what I discovered was surprising was what a good guy he actually was, because history, Captain Kidd's story was written by the British Crown, which unfairly tried him and stacked the deck against him at the trial of the century in 1701. So most of what was written about Captain Kidd leading up to really the last 25 years, not all of it, but a lot of it, was from the Crown and the East India Company's perspective. And their propagandist campaign back then was to smear Captain Kidd. So because they couldn't catch the real pirates in the Indian Ocean, who were called the Red Sea Men. So because they didn't catch those guys that Captain Kidd was sent to hunt, he became the scapegoat for every piracy in the Indian Ocean in the 1690s. So, I grew up with stories of Captain Kidd, but they were all like Johnny Depp, like, where's the rum? And swashbuckling, Errol Flynn type stuff. That was all really BS. So I think the biggest surprise for me was finding out what a good guy and what a gentleman and how wealthy and important Captain Kidd. He was the jury foreman. He built Trinity Church in New York City. And New York City was very multi-ethnic, pluralistic, like modern America. It was the only place in the colonies that was. And he went there for that reason, because it was very, liberal and tolerant enclave, and looked the other way towards smuggling and privateering, getting into piracy. So the biggest surprise for me was that Captain Kidd was such a model citizen, I think. So as far as his flaws, he kind of had a temper. He was tough with the sword. He was tough on his crew. He was a lot like John Paul Jones, the father of the American Navy. So I'm not sure that. Well, I think the real thing with Captain Kidd is all the good things he did is what surprised me.
There's a lot of, on that note, a lot of surprising aha moments in this, and I think the reason you wanted to write this book is to negate a lot of these inaccurate descriptions or depictions in history, but which is, we talk a lot around here about people consuming art or anything in the world and not knowing really where it comes from. So I think this book, that's the real point behind it. But for me, an aha moment in this book, or a question mark, this might be dumb question of the day, Jim. I think
Lindsay's dumb question of the day, #2.
Thank you. So there's in the book, when the idea that, Captain Kidd, he sails into New York Harbor, which, by the way, towing a captured French fishing boat loaded with salt and tackle, which is an image that is so beautifully set up, and my brain it can't leave my brain. And the fact that it's on the 4th of July, nonetheless. Now, this was in 1696, so of course our Independence Day doesn't come till 1776, but was that pure coincidence, or did that day carry any symbolic punch at the time? Is that a dumb question?
No, no, it's not. It didn't. No one knew about it till then. And I don't think, and to be honest, I think the 4th of July was actually celebrated. Yes, Ben Franklin definitely was celebrating in Paris, on the anniversary of it. So it was celebrated starting in 1777. It became celebrated, the event. That's true. But that's when it became celebrated. So in any case, Captain Kidd, again, he's fighting the French. He's a privateer. He's one of the wealthiest gentlemen in New York. He owns 7 properties that today would be worth $500 million. And I don't, because they took, everything from him. Didn't see any of that. His ninth great grandson.
Where's your take? Where's your cut? I think you should make an appeal for it. Yeah.
I could own half of the Lower East Side. Come on, kid, what were you doing? So, but yes, that was those little moments are incredible. Just to picture Captain Kidd returning to New York with his 34-gun warship that he's been given by the King of England and 5 of the most important people in London. But remember, he's about to go on the voyage to hell on a mission that he didn't even want to do. So the most famous pirate of all time did not want to undertake a mission to the Indian Ocean to hunt down pirates. He wanted to just fight the French. He wanted to be a naval guy. Now, he didn't want to go chase down pirates. So it's an interesting irony that Captain Kidd, the most famous pirate of all time, sharing it with Blackbeard, we'll acknowledge Blackbeard here, he never even wanted to go on the mission to the Indian Ocean that has made him the most famous pirate of all time. That's pretty interesting. I call it Kiddian irony.
I thought was really cool was the fact that, Lindsay, if a country ever was invented for Captain Kidd, it's got to be the United States of America, because it almost seems like, I brought up the idea, a gentleman of fortune, and the idea that you can see that he has upward mobility plans. That is often quite difficult in the old world, as even during the transitional period of the revolution that was going on there, the secession crisis that was going on there, it seems like he was born almost a little bit too early, because he's the kind of person that would have born later, would have built a fortune in the New World, would have slipped the noose, as they say, and gone on to become bigger and better things, as it were. And there seems to be something about the British Empire and the British aristocracy and the powers that be were like so far, no further. And it goes back to the idea that, does he see the movement to fighting the French as one more step to legitimacy?
Yeah, and I think you're on to something important here. And I touch on it in my afterword of my book. Captain Kidd was sort of an incipient revolutionary.
Right.
Back then they were no one Americans loved Britain. They even Ben Franklin and George Washington, right up to the Boston Massacre, loved England. I mean, everyone loved England. What they didn't like was having their commerce decided by London and Whitehall. Americans have always been resistant. So when people always say, well, when did people become American? And when did they right away, the Puritans resisted England from the get-go. They were like, well, what do your laws have to do with us? So Americans have always loved the mother country, but they're like, don't mess with our commerce. Don't mess with our business. We like to do things our own way. And Captain Kidd was very much part of that. Even though he loved and was willing and fighting on behalf of the king, he was, he wasn't a smuggler pirate ever until he was, sort of forced by his crew to sort of maybe, go into gray areas. But what's important is that, he, like you said, he wasn't a gentleman of fortune. Gentleman of fortune typically applies really to pirates. Like Blackbeard wanted to be gentlemen of fortune. So their idea was to become pirates, to become gentlemen of fortune. Captain Kidd was a gentleman of fortune by legal privateering. And that's why he saved his money. He didn't piss it away on liquor and strumpets back in the day, like other commerce raiders, privateers and pirates and merchant seamen. They're all sailors. Breaking in a big way is not the way. Sorry.
Sam, you're breaking up a little bit, brother.
Are you there?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm right here. Can you hear me now?
It's a little bit better. We're talking with Samuel Marquis. You can head on over to samuelmarquisbooks.com. The current book, Captain Kidd, A True Story of Treasure and Betrayal. Yes, it is available on Audible, by the way. Samuel, as you can imagine, with most of our audience being over-the-road truck drivers, the audio version of books is very important. This is another book that'll get you several more hours down the road, so we encourage it. And Samuel, it's interesting because you've can you hear? Is he back?
We got him back, Andre. We're holding on 1 second to get Samuel back in the game.
Back in the game. So we're going to get Samuel Marquis. That's Marquis books.com. Samuel Marquis Books. He's written many books. He said, I think 12 books so far, right, Jim?
12.
He's probably my best take into history. We're having back. So Samuel,
there
you are, brother. as I was saying before, the audio piece is important to our audience. So thank you for having those versions as well. But you wrote as well as I read somewhere in an article where you were saying you, with your 2018 book, you started diving in to some of your ancestry and realized, like, you were the one from doing your research on other projects that realized, hey, I think we got the story wrong a little bit, even passed down from your own ancestors. So I'm curious, at what point in your life, when you first heard the family lore, and were you dressing up as a pirate as a kid on Halloween, first of all, and when did you kind of hear about it in your own young side as a child? Because then later you found out, wait, everything I've been told is wrong. What does that feel like?
I just want to make sure you can hear me and I'm coming through, Claire.
Yes, you sound great. Yes,
Perfect.
you sound great.
Perfect.
Okay, good. I got it. Sorry, I had to adjust myself. Yeah, so I grew up with stories when I, kind of in the late 60s it started, and I wrote a term paper in high school. It wasn't, to be honest, it was always more, you're the ninth great-grandson of Captain Kidd, but that was kind of it. It wasn't, and I dressed up like a pirate like other kids, but it wasn't a gigantic deal. It was always kind of cool. And I wrote a term paper. I got a B- in 11th grade in high school, and I was cramming the last 2 days, and it was horrible. I got the ultimate slacker's grade, a B-. So
just send your book to that. Can you just send your current book to that teacher, by the way? That would be a fun full circle moment.
Yeah, he's actually read the book, so I contacted him on Facebook. So
that's awesome.
His name's Eric Waples. He's a very nice, great history teacher, and it's sort of funny though that and I just did the standard thing. There's a little bit of, he's always been a little bit, was he a pirate or not? But the British Crown really defined him and made him out to be this monster. Treasure-bearing scoundrel, His treasure's always been part of his allure,
Mm-hmm.
Because he's the most famous for buried treasure of anyone. Because when he returned to America in June of 1699, he did bury some of his legally gotten treasure on Gardiner's Island on Long Island Sound, and he also left it with Captain Thomas Clark, his good friend who helped build Trinity Church and was a governor's council member. He took some of the kids' stuff, and also Captain Thomas Paine in Narragansett, Rhode Island. So Captain Kidd did distribute treasure. He did bury some, but he only did it because he did not trust Lord Belmont, his sponsor in his Indian Ocean expedition, and the governor of New York, Massachusetts Bay, and New Hampshire. So Captain Kidd is not a treasure-bearing scoundrel. He did it to protect himself from Lord Belmont, who forced him into taking this expedition that he didn't want to take to the Indian Ocean. So a lot of people don't know that.
You will know this stuff, by the way, if you actually take the time to dive into this wonderful book. Samuel Marquis has joined us this morning. We have been so thrilled to have him on another muscular mess of an edition of Road Gang Radio. Guys, I want you to go to SamuelMarquisBooks.com. The name of the book, by the way, is Captain Kidd, a true story of treasure and betrayal from best-selling author Samuel Marquis. You are welcome back anytime. You are now Lindsay's go-to for American history. So
make me less dumb. That's what I'm going to start calling you, to make me less dumb, friend. No pressure.
No, you're not done. You're getting it done for people around the world,
Mm-hmm.
You're bringing voices to people, so there's no dumb questions, Claire.
Thank you.
Lindsay's dumb question of the day, number 607.
Lindsay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That's okay.
That's okay. Believe me, I get
Lindsay,
called.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at the thing here, and I keep seeing Claire. I'm sorry, Lindsay.
No problem.
By the way, make you feel better.
I'm the dumb one.
I get called Dave all the time, and it's it's all good. It's all good. Thank you, Samuel. Welcome back anytime, brother.
Samuel, I've been called way worse. I'll just tell you
way
that.
worse by me,
all
in fact. by me, in fact.
Thank you, Lindsay. I'm sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. SamuelMarquisBooks.com. That's where you want to head over. Yes, you can get it on Audible. The book is called Captain Kidd, A True Story of Treasure and Betrayal. It's not only historical, it's actually a lot of fun. So check it out. So you can be smart like me. Samuel, have the best day. And tell Colorado we said hi.
Take care. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.